Everyone thinks grand jeté is about how high you can jump. It's not. It's all about your timing, torque, and trajectory. Today I'm going to break down the real science of flight in ballet and how to get an ultimate grand jeté. We'll talk about why your grand jeté feels stuck, the different types of grand jeté, how to train the muscles that actually make you float, and stick around until the end because I'm going to give you the single cue that will change how you jump forever. So let's dive in. One of the biggest lies in ballet is that you just need to jump higher. While elevation is important, it's not the answer to everything. The height of your jump is determined by two things. In a grand jeté, it's how high you throw your leg and how high you can get your hips into the air. Think of your jeté like an arrow. When we do our grand battement at the bar, oftentimes we just think about lifting our leg, but then don't think about how that leg is being thrown there. Remember, the full name of grand battement is grand battement jeté, to throw for a reason. If we imagine that someone is holding my leg at the back, pulling in this direction, pulling, and then they let go. That's the energy we need for our grand battement. And that's the first part of what gets us up into the air. The second part is lift in our hips. Something I often think about is if I had two rods sticking out of my hips on either side. And when I jump, when I get to the top, it's like someone pulls on those rods right at the top of the jump. And we do this by squeezing our glutes right at the top. It's like our glutes are trying to hold us in the air for a second, giving us that hang in space. Combining these two elements is what's going to get you up and then keep you there so that we can have a nice arced trajectory like the arrow. But how do we build that arced trajectory? It's with a step called tombé. If I do a développé at the bar, from here I have to move my hips up and forward and fall. This tombé helps me to develop the feeling of my hips going up and over to land. Think of it kind of like a hurdle. You wouldn't go straight through because you just crashed. So practicing that up and over and getting the back leg up as fast as possible is going to be key. The next element that helps to build our jeté is our temps-lié, or transfer of weight. We can do transfer of weight through fourth position, or we can go up and over, which is much more similar to the process in that grand jeté. Whether it's a grand jeté en croisé and attitude, or a grand jeté with a straight leg going over, they're both the same idea. It's transfer of weight from one leg to the other. One of the biggest mistakes I see in young dancers is they train this movement, where they're going through the movement as opposed to starting on their back leg, transferring up and over to the front foot, or starting on their back leg, pliéing, transferring the weight, and moving forward. Try this for me. Bend forward and try to walk. Was that as weird for you as it was for me? Basic biomechanics demand that we have weight on our back leg in order to step forward. It's the same thing when we grand jeté because we're going from our back leg up and over and landing on our front leg. The front leg does the grand battement, we push off of our back leg, and we land on that front leg. The key to success is training slowly. Start with a tendu to the front, plié through fourth position, transfer your weight to your front leg, which is going to become the leg that you push off of. Your shoulders are on top of that, not forward. You brush your front leg, arms come up through first, your weight is still on your standing leg, you push up and shoot forward. Do this slowly across the room 4 times. Too often I see dancers already with their bodies forward in the glissade, and getting into the grand jeté is almost impossible. If you try to lift your leg to the front with your body forward, it's going to limit how high you can get your leg, which is then going to limit how high your hips can go in the air, and it's going to restrict your elevation in the jump. If we're trying to do a jeté en croisé, you would start in effacé, you would plié through fourth position, having your headline diagonally out over your front knee. You would transfer that weight, brush your leg up, and again, transfer forward, landing in attitude. Again, the key here being that as we transfer, we're not leaning our body forward, we're transferring our weight through, brushing the leg, up and over, and then landing with our body forward so our leg can come up. Arc the trajectory. Once you've developed the arc and you've found that position, you can build that glissade, or we can build a pas carré for the grand jeté in attitude. The pas carré is all about rhythm. Do that with me one more time. So from here, from this croisé line, you step onto your foot. One more time. And that last step is the transfer before we brush the leg to come up into the air. Now, to really make all of this work, we have to use our arms correctly. Oftentimes I see dancers not using their allongé at the bar, and when they plie, they just bring their arm down and it doesn't connect. If you think about your allongé as the breath, that's your expansion. So in your glissade or your pas carré, you're expanding to contract, grab the power from the bottom of the plie, take all of that through your leg, and then with the arms and the legs together, throw yourself into the air. Many dancers skip the first position of their arms, which limits the height of their jump. We want to connect through first position as the leg brushes, and then expand. Through first position, and expand. So let's recap. The grand battement is your starting point. How much energy you pull in the opposite direction of where you're throwing your leg, and then firing that throw into the air. The next one is using your pliés to connect and get your hips to hold in the air. Build the pattern of the tombé so that we're not leaning your body forward, but you're going through or up and over, and then take that into a tombé to learn how to go up and over. Then build the pattern of the movement of the jeté, so you're jumping without a preparation, add the preparation in, and put everything together with your head and arms. So I promised you some strength exercises that you can do for your elevation and strengthen your jumps. First exercise you can do, and this is just to improve your general jump height, is you can bend your knees in a squat with a weight and jump with the weight, put it down, and rapidly jump without it. Grab the weight, jump with the weight, jump without. Jump with the weight, jump without. Do 3 sets of 10 reps. The next ones are jumping from a height and landing. And then also doing that with 1 foot. Do 3 sets of 5 of 2 feet and 3 sets of 5 of 1 foot on each leg. The last exercise are going to be lateral hops so that you can control your landing from any direction. You jump forward, jump back, jump side, forward, back, side, side. Do 3 sets of 30 seconds going in each direction. Try landing to the front on different legs every time so that you're alternating that landing. These plyometric exercises will develop your jump height and the muscular control you'll need to land properly, safely, and get good elevation into the air. Now, for those of you who may be asking, what about flick jeté or swish jeté? Guys, this isn't Harry Potter. It's not flick and swish. We're not trying to go Wingardium Leviosa with our jumps. Although, wouldn't that be cool if we could do that? Make ourselves light as a feather. In reality, guys, the swish jump is actually called grand jeté, and the jump where we do what you would call a flick is actually a grand pas de chat or a saut de chat, depending on your background. If you want to get that grand pas de chat or saut de chat, it's all about how fast you can get your knee up at the beginning of the jump. If you just split your legs, you're not going to get very high. The elevation in a grand pas de chat comes from how fast you can lift your knee, get it up into the air, lift your hips, and then expand right at the top of the jump, right at the last second. A little bit of a trick here. When you land, don't drop your leg. You can create the illusion of floating by when you land, lifting your airbus just a little bit higher before it comes through to the next step. It's a trick that nobody talks about, but will actually make your jump look even higher than it ever has before. Now here's a little trick that I learned that's the #1 cue that will change the way that you jump. And it all comes down to musicality. Oftentimes, when dancers do pas carré grand jeté or even glissade grand jeté, they get up on the one and that limits the height of their jump because they have to land quickly again to get into the next one. Instead of going 1 and 2, think about going 1. That up on the 1 is going to dramatically change how much energy you have and will increase the amount of elevation and float that you have at the top of your jump. So there you have it, guys. The 3 different types of grand jeté. Actually, one of them is a grand pas de chat. And if you use these tips and techniques that I talked about, your jump will get higher, your strength will be there, you'll be able to fly, float, and do whatever you want in the air because your musicality, your arms, your body, everything is coordinated, your shoulders aren't in front of your hips, and you'll be ready to float through the air and fly like an arrow. Hope you guys have enjoyed this deep dive into grand jeté. I can't wait to see what you would like me to do next. Comment down below what you would like me to cover in my next video, and be sure to hit subscribe so you're notified when it's released. Remember, practice for many years.